Welcome to the right renovation. Keep motivated and stay on board. Okay, good morning, and we're back in the kitchen. I've just lumped this 3 metre length of worktop from behind there, behind the settee. Managed to get it through and get it up on the trestles. Bit of a job, you have to work these things out. It was a bit of a process of putting one trestle out, getting it through, lifting it up over the top of there, getting it down and laying it on top there. I know I needed it upside down because you always cut your worktops from upside down with a circular saw from the front of the worktop there to the wall, and we're 2,100 exactly. So I'm going to cut it probably 2 or 3 mil short. I'm going to put some masking tape all the way around. I'm going to use my circular saw. It's a Bosch one, it's an 18 volt, use a 4A8 battery in it, so it's got plenty of oomph. It's got a 64 tooth blade on it, so it's a reasonably fine cut. Happy days. Should I put it in there and have a look, see if it fits? I think we should. Let's flip it over. I've never checked this edge, but looks pretty good. I'm gonna lip it just over there for a second. That is lovely and tight. That's fitted in there lovely and nice. I wanted to just butt up. I obviously need to take off this fascia here. Obviously from there, well not from there, once it's butt up, I need to take off that fascia so it butts up a bit tighter. So I've got to cut around them pipes, so I'll mark them out. Let's go. Out them holes, we've shoved it in, and that looks pretty good. The wall's slightly running out that way, but we can adjust that by slightly tilting this worktop and going that way, so we'll get the joint bang on down there. I've got to take this out, flip it, and drill the holes for the bolts in there. I'll get the jig and I'll explain the jig to you. It is quite complicated where you put the pegs in the jig to get the holes in the right place. Then I've got to clear all that. We're gonna have to flip that, spin it out. I'm crap at explaining some things. But you can now see it's coming together. And once we've got everything done, we'll get the sink drilled in, plumbed in, and then I can get all the doors and drawers in. Screw all the worktop solid down. Don't screw your worktop down till you finish doing what you're doing, because it's pointless. Let's see what we can do. Come on. Okay, so this is a worktop jig. I bought the Unica one. It's quite a good one. You've got metal edges, and obviously you run your routers up and down here if you want to do a cut-in join. But we're not doing that. All I'm needing this for today is to cut out the bolt holes underneath. This is the best thing to refer to. I find these ever confusing because I'm a bit like that, but I'm sure if you're doing it, you won't. The best thing to first look at is that, which shows you what we need. Now that's our long piece going down there, and that's this piece going down there. All we're doing there is turning it that way. So we've got a piece coming down there and then down there. So it's a right hand female and a right hand male, okay? Which I've wrote on there. The right hand female bolt, right hand male bolt. I've worked them on the worktops. So we go through there for the cuts, the worktop, and then we come to the bolt slots for here. We need a right hand female bolt slot, which shows you need the worktop upside down, and you need the post formed edge here. That's this edge, the good edge. So you have to have it in that direction. Okay, then you use the jig that way up, and you put your peg in. You see, it's not that good a diagram. You need a peg there, and a peg just there. Yeah, the right hand male, which is this one. We need to turn the jig over the opposite way. Peg there, and a peg there. These are the pegs that come with them. These tap in the corresponding holes. Obviously B is for bolt, same there. And we put the other one in, yes, which one is it? In the B there for bolt. Okay, so you can't go wrong. So once you put it up against it, you just clamp it onto your worktop, and then you router away. You drop your router in, only do 10mm at a time. And we want to go probably half the depth, about 38mm. So if we go 20mm, if we go 5mm at a time, just router them out nice and clean, which I'll show you how to do. And there's my router. I already have a base plate on it. You need a base plate on it with a 30mm collet, or 30mm spacer there. That fits nicely within a millimetre in that gap. So when you're running it up and down, obviously it sticks to that profile perfectly. And then we just need a straight cut bitter, which is already in. It's quite a decent one. I remember last time I used it, I only did a couple of little cuts, but we're only routering out the bolts, so it's not like we need a precise, neat cut for the join. So yeah, it is a bit of a job, but it's the best way to put them together, because these bolts really do hold it together tight, and they nip them up tight as well. So that's what we need to do. So let's get on with it. Okay, so I flip the worktop over, as you can see. Looking at that is how it is, like that. Jig on. You've got your bolts in there under the B's, and a bolt in there. So you push it tight up there, and then tight that way. Then what we do is we put a clamp on there, clamp on there. That holds that in place. Then we router out these. Obviously, you must bear in mind, we cannot go too far down. If you go too far down, you don't want to be coming out the worktop here. So we're going to go about halfway. What we need to do really is look at the bolts. There they are. These are the bolts that we want to use. So we need the thickness of that collar there deep. So we'll measure that. And we will set as router, so we can't go any deeper than that. As long as they're flush inside, they should pull together quite well. So I'm going to clamp them on, then I'm going to router them out. So let's get that done. Okay, obviously make sure when you're clamping the worktop, because that's your top edge. I've got a metal edge there, but I've got a nice plastic cup on there. So make sure that's on the worktop. If not, put a piece of cardboard under there or something like that, just so you don't damage your worktop. It's a plunge router, as you can see. You can move it up or down. So I'm going to slot it in. Let's do this one here and work towards you. Okay. So we're going to slot it in, and we're going to drop it down about, well, what I'm going to do is set the depth of how the deepest I want to go, which will be about halfway. Yes, as you can see, I've plunged it down to about halfway. Okay. So the bolt thickness is only that deep, but I always believe if you get them down about halfway, the bolts are well in the hole, and you're going to get a better pull together. Could actually go a little bit further down than that, but we don't want to weaken the worktop too much. So I'm going to plunge down just a bit more, probably there, and that's lucky because that's actually stopped on the stopper here. You can see that. So my plunger will not, the router will not plunge down any further than that because it's stopping on that cam there. You don't take all that out in one go. So what you do is take it back up and take about 10 mil out. I'm going to lock off the plunger so it can't move, so it'll stay in that position. Then we just slowly go in and out the shape, drop down, in and out the shape, drop down to the full depth. Okay. Always let your router stop spinning before you move it. As you can see, we're starting to dig out the shape. So back again, undo the release clip. Always check how far you're going down. You can use your steps on these cam if you like, but I'm just going to leave mine there just to make sure I never go too deep. So again, start it up. Okay, we should now be able to go down to the full length, which, yeah, I'm happy with. Oh, there we go. So there it is. Let's crack on and do the other two. So come back up to about 10 mil. But there you go, that's them three in. Take the big off. Okay, so as you can see, 3 holes in there, and the way they tighten up, you can see, can't you? They sit in there like that. That sits in the opposite hole, and you tighten up, listen up, and a 10mm spanner that pulls everything together. See, they're nicely seated in. They're going to get a good grip on there. Seems a bit extreme for what it is, doesn't it? But that's the way it is. So they will give us a great tool. We'll put glue in on the joints before we pull it up tight, and then we'll put a colour fill in the joint. Happy days. So what we need to do now is get the other worktop out. What we have to do with that, obviously, is use the guide of which way to put the jig on the end of there when it's flipped over on the back. So we've got to flip it and stand that side of it to put the jig on, and then if you put the pins in the right holes, it shows you in there, and then them holes will then line up perfectly when we go to join it. Fingers crossed. Let's get that done. Okay, so we've brought the worktop out, we've flipped it over. It's a little bit lighter because we've got that cut out. So we've flipped it over as it says in, let's see if you can see that. Let's hold it up for you. As it says, we need a right female bolt slot. So the proformed edge is that side down there, And we've put the pins in the bolt holes, the red ones, as you can see. Push them up tight, got them in all. I've measured from the edge of this worktop here to the middle of the first hole, and then measured, obviously, because it'll be going that side. So I've measured from there, 130mm, and it lines up perfect with the holes underneath. So that's just like a double check. I'm sorry I've not explained this the best, but these booklets are good. I keep this with me router at all times. That is the first thing you have to go off. Work out ours is obviously that way round, because we've got a long bit there and then a bit going there. Sorry, that way. So we know everything's right-handed. Yeah, then you go off. If you want to cut your worktop as a proper joint, it shows you exactly which way to put your worktops and which way to put your jig, and which way round to put your jig. Face up is the one with all the writing on. Face down is obviously with the back facing up. But they're the two we've had to go off, that one and that one. Right hand bolt slot and bolt slot right hand male. So perfect. So I'm going to get this routed out as before. We'll chuck it back in. Obviously we'll make sure the holes line up, but I'm pretty confident they will. I'm not going to put the bolts in just yet, because then I've got to cut out my sink. And I found when putting sinks in, especially these stainless steel ones, it's easier to put the clips in under the worktop with the worktop out, so we can kind of tip the worktop up and try and get them in that way. Hoping it works like that, but we'll see. As we just do it as we go along. Let's get this done. Okay. Horrible noisy thing, a router. So take that off. And if you can see, I've put a mark just there. I mark that where the worktop actually meets that. So what I'll do is I'll Stanley knife down there, using a slight angle coming outwards, so when we push in, it's not you know, pushing against that. Slight angle that way with the Stanley knife. Then I'm going to peel that off. Let's see how we get on with that. Okay. So, yeah, I draw my line on before. I'm going to go into a bit of an angle like that. I'm not sure how we get this off. I don't know whether to get a sharp chisel. See if we can do anything with my Stanley knife. But what we want to be careful of is obviously that top edge. We don't want to be doing any damage, so we need to stay away from that top edge. Yeah, I think we're going to need a sharp chisel of some form. Okay. So stay away from the top edge. Let's see if we can get it off with this. I've seen a lad take this off with a chisel. We must keep away from the top edge. As you can see, really straight lines on the join. I'm hoping when we put the bolts in, that's going to pull up that millimetre of gap. If not, you do get what they call a colour fill that you can drop in there. Just takes away that gap. Happy days. Have I got any more cutting out to do? Yes, I have. I've got to cut out the sink for that. So I think before I clean up, I'm going to put the sink on. I'll show you what I do with that. It's simple with the sink. You drop the sink on in exactly the place you need it. You draw around it and you come in 10mm from the line. So you just do a line 10mm inside and we'll jigsaw that out. Let's do it. I've drilled with 4 holes inside the 10mm perimeter. Let's get it cut. Take your time, let the jigsaw do the work. It's not one of the top dwarf jigsaws, it's I forget how much it was now. I think about 60 quid maybe. No, probably a bit less, I think I got them on a deal. But if you just take your time with them, let the jigsaw do the work. Don't force it through. And as long as you've got a decent blade in, you'll get through. So, will the sink slot in it? There's only one way to find out. You have to be very careful with these sinks, they're ever so sharp, the edges. So, preferably wear gloves. Yeah, you can see where we're drawn around. Sits in nice. See these holes here? What happens is you push that in, it clips in the hole. Then you tighten that up underneath there. Okay, before we set about my new clips for sinks, always remember you've got to seal inside. Obviously this is going to be where the most of the water will be. These exposed edges, if they get water in them, it will just blow the laminate off and it will look horrible. A couple of ways you can do it. You can do it, I've done it with wood glue before, which is like a PVA. It seals it lovely. I've got some OB1 there. There's a sealant that might do the job. It's good stuff, this OB1, I rate it. But it is important you do this. So if you do get any water seeping through there, at least you're safe in the mind that it's not going to blow all your laminate off. Good bead of it. Once that's sealed and bolted together, I don't need to take the worktops out again. I get them all screwed underneath, up into it, get a good solid fixing everywhere. We'll have a quick tidy up and we'll do them. Okay, so let's get this worktop jointed in. Use your applicator and run it along the edges, like that with your colour fill, just like plenty of. Drop it down. It's so awkward. What we did is we put the colour fill along the edges, down the bottom and the top, dropped it in place, pushed it together, started tightening the bolts. But you don't get long with this colour fill, it goes off ever so quick. You start tightening the bolts up, get it somewhat light, then you have to get up and address the colour fill because it dries dead quick. You're supposed to scrape the excess off, use a bit of the solvent they give you to get the rest of it off. And I think we can all agree, what a nice join. So the worktop's on, brilliant. It's 20 to 5, it's knock-off time and I've got all this clearing up to do. I think we're gonna call it a day for today. I will make them brackets. All I'm gonna do is put a bracket on here that comes down and out that's got a hole in, that I can screw the screw up into the fixture that's on the sink, because we've got hard behind there, so I can screw into that no problem. Although I think I'll be able to get away with screwing into the bottom of the thing there, and that'll pull the sink down, so we'll do that tomorrow. But I've got to let all this go off in here anyway, so I can drop the hob back in. All the worktops in place. It's pretty square. Quite impressed really how square it's gone in. It's gone away a bit on this end, but we can manipulate that a little bit. We've got the tiles and everything, but apart from that, it looks brilliant. That is all the mess done. Tomorrow, I'm going to put them brackets on, screw the sink down, make sure that's all nice and watertight, get all the doors on, plumb the sink in, but I've got about an hour's cleaning up, I think. But it's been worth it, because that's all the hard work done. I think you can agree it's really taking shape now. Thanks ever so much for joining me on this journey. Friday, so it's shave day tomorrow. I'm having my haircut Saturday there, so all's going to be good. So good day tomorrow, we'll finish off and it'll be great. So thanks for following me. If it's your first time around here, stick that thumbs up and perhaps subscribe. And if it's not your first time around here, just hit that thumbs up and keep on the journey. So keep motivated and stay on board. See you tomorrow, folks.